and welcome to In Business Talk 2. We are thrilled to welcome you to our bonus episode of the Friday Fix. In our bonus episode this week, we will be discussing a business-related subject with either one of our wonderful In Business networking members or a fellow business owner who will be sharing their advice, thoughts or knowledge on a particular topic.
We're your hosts, Tracy and Eno, founders of In Business. It's a networking and business support community. We host online and face-to-face events, and we'd love to meet you, so why not come along? The link to book is in the show notes. Today's guest is Victoria Brennan, and Victoria is a personal development coach who has a wealth of experience in human behaviour and personal development. She's nurturing and challenging, and without a doubt, she believes in your capacity to evolve. Today we're talking about improving your self-image. So welcome to our Friday Fix today. Today we have with us Victoria Brennan, and Victoria is a personal development coach. So welcome, Victoria. Lovely to see you.
Hello. Hi.
Victoria.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you with us today. I suppose we should start by asking, what is it you do, Victoria? Tell us a bit more about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a coach and I'm a personal development coach. I do work predominantly with entrepreneurs, but I'm not a business coach. I really focus on what I consider to be the inner work. So this is all the stuff around how our habits, our identity, our self-image. And I work with people to help them work at those levels so they can actually create greater expansion and better results in their business and their life.
Excellent. And sort of, how do you define self-image?
Well, self-image is such an interesting area, really, because it's, for me, the work I do is very much around the real digging deep. So this is digging into everything that has shaped us in our formative years. So self-image is basically everything that subconsciously we believe we're possible to create. So it kind of creates the paradigms that we build around us, and I suppose the reality we build around us as well. So everything is born from that self-image. So the work I do is really digging deep and helping people to see, actually, yeah, that's where I'm operating from. So for instance, if someone's got the self-image of being a business owner that gets by, then they're going to spend their life getting by. If they can work from an identity level of being an entrepreneur that's creating £10,000 months, then obviously we can elevate the results they're getting by working at that identity level. So, yeah, I'm not sure that really defines it for you.
No, that's fine. No, I just wondered. Yeah, so it's really, I suppose, the mind's a really powerful thing. Then, really, isn't it? It's part of.
Yeah, it truly is. And actually, I think for me as a coach, mindset obviously is something we hear a lot of in the personal development space, in the business coaching space. And mindset is hugely important. But actually, the work I do works a little bit more with the brain as well. Because actually, a lot of the mindset stuff is about, think positively, stepping outside of your comfort zone. But if you don't first kind of do this inner work, it can be quite toxic almost, because you can be out there going, I'm really thinking positively, I'm trying as hard as I can, I'm out there every day doing X, Y, and Z, but I'm still not seeing the results. And it's because this identity work is so key, because, you can tell someone to go out there and do all the doing, but actually if it's not coming from the right energy level or from the right place, it's not going to get them the progress that they necessarily want.
Yeah. It's like counterintuitive, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you work on that? What processes do you go through with people to get this self-image?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I do. I mean, so first off, I tend to do an exercise around values, because we all have our values, our own set of values. And I do a bit of work that helps us look at those unconscious values, actually, because you will have heard before that, 95% of the decisions we make every day are subconscious. So actually, if we can really dig deep and find out what are the values driving our behaviour, this usually gives a really good indication to the kind of self-image somebody has. So we can that starts the conversation. And then it's really about raising that awareness. but also it's kind of it's the deeper conversations, if I'm honest. It's really understanding from somebody where they've perhaps struggled, where they make progress and come back again. And it's really digging into all of those experiences that they have had, because generally speaking, when people come to work with me, it's because they're so frustrated that they've tried this, they've tried that, and they're just not making progress. So yeah, it's all about understanding what's driving subconsciously. It's looking at the stories that have shaped somebody, and these are quite embedded. So for instance, if we look at a relationship with money, we all have a relationship with money, and this will have been shaped in our formative years from the experiences we had growing up. And, even if, for instance, someone might be saying, I just can't get to the next level of income in my business. And actually, if that's what they're trying to create and I can see they're not making the progress, I'll say, well, let's look at those money stories from when you were younger, and we'll go back, and it'll turn out that actually they heard people saying that it was really bad to have money. It was that, that all of that, those connotations that actually money is evil, the root of all evil. All of those things will come up. And so it's like, well, that's what you believe. That's what you believe subconsciously. So actually going out and trying to make more, your subconscious is going, whoa, hang on a minute. This is bad. We don't do this. So yeah, it's all those conversations and that I have with my clients really that get us there.
Yeah, it's funny how we're affected from things from years ago, isn't it? How you still carry it with you. It's even when you're young, you pick these things up, and it's funny how it transfers forward, isn't it? It sticks with you. It's
absolutely
quite scary, really. Yeah.
Yeah. When I went there, I was like, oh my goodness, what do I say to my children? Like, so sort of like, just like, what am I saying? Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, we learn so much. It's those formative years. We learn. When we learn by seeing, and how our parents are, and even our parents, are doing a great job. They're doing the best they can, and they're giving, well-intentioned advice. But it's just how it's interpreted and how it's held by the
I suppose they've got the same stuff from their parents.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's carried forward, really, isn't it?
It really is. It absolutely is. You absolutely spot on with that. You're working with generations of beliefs, really. And, I have this great example that one of my mentors uses where he said that one of his clients used to watch their mum prepare a ham every Christmas, and they'd watch them do the ham, and they'd cut it up, they'd cut the end off it, and they'd put it in the pan. And as they got older, and every Christmas they'd watch, and they'd sort of then started asking the question, why do you cut the end off the ham? And then the parent was like, do you know what? I don't know. So she went to ask her mum, and her mum said, well, I always did it because we didn't have a pan that was big enough. And so literally, you sort of just, watch and learn and think, well, that's how I cook that. I cut a bit off it. But it was actually just because she didn't have a pan big enough. But yeah, it just illustrates how it all carries through. It's so interesting. Yeah.
So when you're going through the process and you sit somebody down, you ask a series of questions, sort of digging deeper. What do you tend to find that people? What's the most common thing in your experience that people have the hang-ups with? Is it around money, or is it other things that are blocking them? What's holding them back in your experience?
Money is massive. Yeah, money stories are huge. That's a massive one, and I think it's as I say, particularly when I'm doing more work with entrepreneurs, that definitely comes up. So money is a big one. Weight, health is another one. So, when I'm working with somebody, again, I mean, this is such a common one to see actually and illustrate. I mean, I've been there in the past as well, where you perhaps go on a diet or a fitness regime, you make wonderful progress, you feel really proud of yourself, but then a year later, you're back where you started or a bit further back. And that's actually to do with your identity as well. And so again, you dig into that and people will sort of say, well, actually, do you know what? I grew up in a house where I was told I absolutely had to finish everything off my plate. Or I heard stories about how the women in our side of the family are big boned. So but money is a massive one, particularly for the entrepreneurs. Sales as well. That's another big part, because obviously as business owners, it's all about selling, isn't it? And a lot of people have hang-ups because they grew up hearing things like, don't show off. Calm down, don't show off. So you're like, oh, I better not then. Or I better not talk about what I can do to help. So yeah, definitely, that's another big one for people, is they just don't feel comfortable putting themselves out there because of those stories. Yeah.
We had that conversation in the car today, didn't we, on the way home from our event. We had an event this morning, and we were asking everybody else what they do and who they need to speak to and everything else. And then it was like, we said, well, we might as well say what we do, but we only sort of briefly skirted over it because we felt like
we were selling.
Yeah. And then somebody said, well, why have you not said anything about your books? You've not said anything about this. You've not said anything about that. We're like, well, you just don't feel like you say, want to show off.
Yeah.
Or sell, because that's what we don't want it to be, is a sales pitch that we're at our events to sell our events. But it was...
And it's funny, a similar thing. I did a post the other day, and I do it in my presentation, and it's like...
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
A little outburst.
Yeah. It's like never talk to strangers. And that's in people's minds. When they go out networking, it's this thing about never talking to strangers, and yet if you don't talk to strangers when you're networking, what's the point? But I think people subconsciously hold this because it's drilled into you for the right reasons from being young, isn't it? I mean, your parents say don't go talking to strangers, but then suddenly lots of people have this hang up when they go networking. Well, I don't like networking. I don't like it. Well, why not? But it's strange, isn't it? It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And when in your event as well, like you say, you sort of think, oh, I shouldn't sell, but everything you sell is going to help, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. It's weird, isn't it? It is a mindset thing, isn't it? It is a mindset thing. We're reluctant to brag about ourselves. Not that there's much to brag about, but
you see, there you go.
Well, I did that. Yeah, I did that, didn't you? I'm thinking, there you go. Prime example.
Oh dear, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's so interesting, and actually, of course, a lot of this is. Another thing people struggle with is that whole thing around self-worth, and it's linked to that as well, because you will have picked up those stories. But sometimes people just think that they're not worthy enough to be out there talking about how they can help people, and that again can stem back to stories.
Does that touch on like the imposter syndrome type situation? Then is that all linked in a way?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, imposter syndrome really is a result of low self-esteem and self-worth. And yes, you can trace all of that back to stories as well. I mean, of course, there's other things going on in people's environment that will impact, and we can look at that together as well. But absolutely, you do not need to prove your worth to anyone, but we are taught from an early age about validation, external validation, do well at school and, you get an award, and so it's kind of all external, isn't it? But actually, really the only relationship that's, going to be with you for a lifetime is the one you have with yourself. And so, and we're so reluctant to do that work and to actually work on our own levels of self-esteem. We'd much rather go off and help other people. But actually, if you can take the time to not just reframe beliefs. So it's not just about going, someone saying, I don't feel worthy, and then saying, well, let's change that. You are worthy. But actually going much deeper, because your identity, so your self-image, actually creates your beliefs. So you kind of need to go a little bit deeper, really, and just sort of really look at what is going on for you. But yeah, absolutely, imposter syndrome, it stems entirely from low self-esteem. And I think the thing as well is that repetition is the mother of all learning. That's how we learn everything from an early age. It's how we learn to walk. It's how we learn to eat. It's how we learn to write. And when you are making changes, so when people come to me and they're like, right, well, we're going to do this work now, it's repetition that is so key. If you want to make changes to the way that you're thinking and your habits, then you do need to be committed and consistent in that approach. And I think there's a lot of work done around sort of read this and your imposter syndrome will go, or listen to this, and you might leave feeling really motivated and excited, and that's brilliant. But then 2 weeks later, you're back feeling really low because you haven't, and you're thinking, why can't I get this? I'm frustrated. I'm really annoyed. You know what? I'm just destined to be an imposter. That's just my, my lot. And there we stay. So it's
what types of people come to you for help?
I get a variety, actually. I get entrepreneurs who are usually around 12 to 18 months into their journey, and usually they've experienced lots of other support along the way, and it's been really amazing support, really valuable support and information, but they can't quite implement it. And it's because when we strip back, it's because of the self-worth behind it. So I have sort of entrepreneurs about 12, 18 months into their journey, but genuinely I work with anyone going through quite big transitions in their life. So it could be somebody going through a breakup or a divorce. It could be somebody recovering from an illness. So really the sort of work I know we're always told have a niche, aren't we? I'm the worst. Have a niche, and I'm like, oh, I can help everyone. But genuinely, in one way, shape, or form, I can help, with people that. So it's generally people who feel stuck. So again, people in perhaps a career where they are frustrated, because actually, interestingly, as part of my story going back, that's where I was. I was kind of in this job, and I was like, I'd done well. I'd got into quite a senior position. I was leading the organization. I had a family. I had X, Y, and Z, but I wasn't happy. And so it's anybody that's feeling that disconnect really between, what they believe, because the unhappiness is the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And I think so often in life, our paradigms, our self-identity will kind of stop us getting to where we want to be.
Yeah.
So it's anybody who's frustrated really and thinking, I just, it's there, it's out of reach, but I just can't get there.
So as part of your process, then you sit down, you ask people questions, and then sort of what do you do following the sort of the question of things? I'm sure you don't just say, come on, pull yourself together now. What is it? what is it that you sort of, what do you encourage people to do? Do you have a particular set of instructions or form? I mean, obviously don't give all your secrets away, Victoria, but what is it that you do to sort of like progress people along the path of?
Sure, absolutely. So when I'm working with somebody, I work with them over a period of time so that we've got a time frame to work within. Yep. And we do a variety of different things. I will do a lot of work around the language they're using with themselves. So I'll do sort of exercises around sort of seeing how they talk to themselves and helping them to understand how they can change that. So that we have like a session each week, but I do a lot of work outside of the sessions where I might be asking them to complete some resources. So I ask them to think more deeply in certain areas with the sort of workbooks that I share, and then I will come back to them with kind of my perspective on where they are and what's stopping them. I also encourage them to use self-hypnosis and to actually start looking at the habits they're creating, because actually, everything is a habit. How we think is a habit. Worrying is a habit. Whatever habit they're stuck in. But I encourage them to start looking at new habits so they can build some more neural pathways while we're working together. So it's really by being at their side. And of course, everyone's so unique, but there's a lot of different tools that I use to really tailor the experience for people and make sure it is getting the results for them. Yeah. So it's a very vague answer. Sorry.
No, that's fine. No, right. It's...
And what results have you seen? What is the best kind of result you've seen from the work that you do? Well, I mean, without giving any names, obviously.
No, absolutely. Yeah, well, it kind of in one way, one way or another it is, because everyone's on, everyone wants to create something. So I'm not one of these coaches that will just turn up for an hour, do the whole motivational spiel and disappear. So I work very closely with people, and so everyone does see results. Of course they do. I ensure that happens, and that's the container we work in. But yeah, some of the best results I've seen has been people stopping burnout. When they've literally been sort of heading into it and actually being able to pull themselves back, which in effect has meant that their business has been okay, because had they carried down that path, the business would have gone. I've seen people up the levels of, revenue they're creating their business by thousands of pounds through the work that we're doing and through changing their self-image. I've seen people let go of an awful lot of baggage that we carry. And I think once you let go of that, you create a greater level of freedom, and that just ripples into all areas of your life, really, and your business. So, yeah, literally everyone I work with has a breakthrough and absolutely, and will make the progress they desire. And this is the important thing, is that they co-create this experience with me. So at the very start, we talk about what they want to create. And so often someone will come to me and say, I want to create X amount of income during the time we're working together. And, they will do. But as we work together, we'll uncover that actually, do you know what? Maybe this is a priority as well over here. And it's such an immersive experience. And yeah.
Is there a couple of sort of top tips? I know you mentioned the self-hypnosis thing. Is there things that people can actually do for them? Obviously, I chat with you first, obviously. But is there something people can do to sort of, I don't know, start the ball rolling themselves sort of thing? What would your top tip be, your top couple of tips? Again, without giving all your secrets away, Victoria, we'll do that.
It's fine. I mean, I would say, habits are really key here. And very often when people think of habits, they think of bad habits and they think of having to stop things. But actually, as I said, everything is a habit. So, your thoughts are a habit. So actually, if you want to create something different in your life, then starting a new habit is going to support that.
Right.
That new habit might be as simple as drinking a glass of water when you wake up. It might be, taking 5 minutes at the start of the day to do a meditation or a self-hypnosis. But actually, taking the action and stepping forwards with a new habit is a really powerful thing to do. And you can get some amazing apps now for like habit stacking to enable you to see. Yeah. And you can make a minimum commitment to yourself. So some people will say, I want to read for 15 minutes a day. But actually, as they build the habit, they might just set that as 5 minutes a day because that just fits with them. But, setting a new habit is really, really powerful. So I would definitely recommend that. And awareness is key as well. You will know an awful lot of the stuff that's blocking you. And maybe just sometimes getting quiet and journaling around what comes up. I mean, ask yourself, what are my stories around money? If money is something that you're struggling to create more of in your business, then, sit down and ask yourself, what are my stories around money? Why is this feeling hard? Yeah. And see what comes out. Just, get quiet and just trust yourself. I mean, that's what it's all about, is building that relationship with self. And, we're so quick to dismiss ourselves, but that, that intuition is so strong, isn't it? Sometimes, you have that nudge, don't you, to not do that or do the other. But just trusting yourself, it starts with listening more and just giving yourself the space to get things out, definitely.
From a habit point of view, how long, I mean, I've read all sorts of different things about this, but how long, in your opinion, do you have to do something to make it into a permanent habit? Because we've done stuff, haven't we? And it's sort of fallen by the wayside. I started for a while freezing myself to death in the shower in the morning but I'd got out of it. I did it for ages, stopped. Now I can't get back into it because I just don't want to turn the cold water back on again. But it's funny, isn't it? But I did it for ages and it felt weird when I didn't do it. But now I've just, I just enjoy the warm water now, Victoria. I don't bother.
No, I hear you. I think it boils down to commitment, actually. So honestly, I believe how long it takes you to set a new habit or change a habit is entirely down to you.
Right.
My mentor talks about how he changed a significant one in his life in one day, because it comes down to the choices that you're making.
Yeah.
And when we're not committed to something, so it starts with commitment for me. So when we're not entirely committed, as you've just said there, you're like, I don't want to turn it to cold. I'm not. But when we're not committed, we don't really know what choices we're making. So it starts with commitment. And I think this is the thing a lot of people miss. They kind of think it's got to start with the motivation. I've got to go and listen to the speakers. But commitment is the bridge that will get you from where you are now to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Not motivation. It's kind of
got a desire for a better future, a better income.
Yeah,
it's a desire for it.
Absolutely. And so I think sometimes we just it's kind of getting those levels of commitment, really.
And how do you think you create that commitment? What I'm asking silly questions here. I'm not quite. How do you create that commitment?
The commitment side of things, how can you create the commitment? Well, it's kind of there's the desire, as you just mentioned, Tracy. There's the desire aspect of what you want to create, but really it's how do you create the commitment? It's knowing what you want enough, really. And I think this is the problem. A lot of people just aren't in love with their goals or in love with what they want to create. And a lot of the joy is being pulled out of things by kind of making it about, you've got to do X, Y, and Z. And actually, if you're in love with what you want to create, and if you're really passionate and clear, and you have this vision and this purpose, it kind of pulls you through. And it's, there's lots of different parts to be committed to around it, but it comes down to choice. It comes down to a choice at the end of the day. And that's the thing that, is harder for people to get, because they sort of will always have, I don't have a choice. You do. And,
Yeah, you do. You always have choices,
absolutely.
don't you?
And we're always committed to something. So, for instance, if you're on a health journey, but you don't actually go to the gym and you end up sitting on the sofa eating a bag of crisps, that's where you're committed. That's where your commitment is. It's not really on that dream. So are you really in love with that? Is it really resonating with you? Is it really what you want to create? And if it's not, why? And then we go back and look at the stories. This is why we do that identity work first, because actually you're subconsciously, if you're you could be going, well, don't commit to that because actually we're happy here. This is our comfort zone. We like eating crisps on the sofa. So it's all so interlinked. So it's kind of, that's why I always start with the identity stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's fascinating stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, some good stuff there, I think.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Good stuff there. Yeah. Interesting. So if people do want to get in touch with you, Victoria, and find out more and have a chat with you, what's the
their self-image?
Yeah, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am easily found, I like to think easily found on Instagram and LinkedIn, just Victoria Brennan. And I've also got a website, which is www.victoriabrennan.co.uk. And I'm also on TikTok now as well.
Oh, you're a TikToker.
I am,
right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
How are you finding that? Is it going well, or?
Yeah, I am actually enjoying it. I found it, I'm having some really nice conversations with people. So I'm finding it a really nice platform to kind of have that really, just that I love conversations, and they kind of organically are happening there, which is really good. So I am enjoying it. I've not done any dancing.
Oh, right.
It's just me chatting. But I am enjoying it. So people can find me on there as well. And, coaching is so deeply personal. So some people, I genuinely will always spend time chatting to people. They don't need to come and make a commitment to work with me, because very genuinely they might chat to me and I think, do you know what? I think you're perhaps more suited to this over here.
Yeah.
So, it is just really, just lovely to connect with people. And I'm always happy to pass on resources and recommendations as well. So, always happy to chat.
Cool. Well, we'll put all those details in the show notes anyway, so that if people do want to get in touch with you, they've got access to the notes there as well. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Are you getting more questions?
No, I don't think I have.
Well, thank you, Victoria. That was really enjoyed that there. Good conversation there, and enjoyed all your insights there and some useful information, I think, for the people as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much for having me.
No,
Thank you for joining us today. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, we're almost at the end of this week's show, and just as a reminder, before we go, don't forget to book your place at one of our regular online networking events, where you can meet some great business owners and build those business relationships. So remember, as we like to say up in business, the best business comes from the best relationships. The link is in the show notes.
We'd also like to mention our books, which are available on Amazon. How to Improve Your Business Networking Skills is 52 tips to help you with your networking. Our Notably Networking One-to-One Networking Notebook is a place to keep all the notes from those follow-up one-to-ones. And last but not least is our 90 Days to Your Success Journal, where you can plan, set and plot your actions that you will take to achieve your goals.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on In Business Talks to Friday Fix. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, all we ask is that you simply tell a friend about the show. And please follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd really appreciate it.
We'd just like to mention that because we are networkers, We do know a lot of people, so if there's anybody in particular that you're looking to speak to and you like an introduction, then please get in touch and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, let us know. So, until next time, this is Ian and Tracy, and together we are in business.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.